So besides the life is hard or the work hard narrative, we have the life is hard narrative from people in the world who, and even people in the church who maybe they're trying to be helpful, but they're giving out a nonsensical statement that helps no one. So if I can encourage you to do one thing, it'd be to banish this phrase of life is hard from your vocabulary. Because number one, well, how do you know? If you're going to say something is hard, you have to be able to compare it to something that's easy. What's the counterfactual? What are you comparing life to determine then that life is hard? There's nothing that it can be compared to. Perhaps they're comparing it to childhood or something like that, but that's nonsensical. Every facet of life has its own layer of difficulty and challenge. It's just that as we progress in age, those challenges begin to look much, much easier. It's kind of like when an individual first starts training or exercising. A 10-pound dumbbell feels extraordinarily heavy to him, but as the years go by, maybe he can lift a 50 or 100-pound dumbbell. It doesn't make the 10-pound dumbbell any less difficult to the person just picking it up for the first time. That's the idea of relative difficulty. Relatively, each phase of life has its own level of difficulty, and it's just looking back with our current level of strength that makes us think that, oh, well, life is just so much more difficult than it once was. There's so many more disadvantages. And that's just not the way to look at it. It's not a positive mindset. It's not a mindset that's going to keep you focused and strong and on track for what you're trying to do, so get rid of it. When people say that, besides the fact that they have no way to prove that life is hard, that there's nothing to compare it to, besides that, it's a non-helpful statement. What are you supposed to then do with that information? What are you supposed to do with now knowing that life is difficult or hard? When people say that, there's nothing really good that can come from it. Perhaps they think that, okay, you'll hear that life is hard and you'll strengthen yourself and take a more serious outlook on life, but even still, what is all that going to benefit? Nothing. And the reality is that life today is not nearly as difficult as it has been for hundreds and thousands of years over history. Not nearly as difficult. We live longer, we have better food, we have better medication. In almost every conceivable metric, life is easier now than it once was. Yet people are still yammering on about this idea that life is hard. So my encouragement to you is pay no attention to those people. Pay no attention. Have them prove whatever it is they're trying to say about life being difficult. How is it difficult? What makes it difficult? More often than not, you'll find it's not life itself difficult, it's the way that we emotionally react to the things that happen in our life that make it difficult. That's the problem. So if we can control and manage our own emotions, which a large part are the result of the way that we're thinking, then we can manage a life that is much easier than many people who whine and complain about life